Okay, cool. So Andrew, welcome. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you, guys.
So Andrew, by way of introduction, you are the co-founder and UK CEO of Spyrosoft.
Yeah.
And Spyrosoft being a software development house, technology services business that builds people's software. I think it's fair to say a very inspirational story of success from the business, from our initial conversations, and highly impressive growth from your inception in 2016 to where we are today. So we thought it'd be great to get together, talk through a bit about that journey, scaling the company, and a chance to share your learnings as a founder and a leader along the way. So before we delve into the Spyrosoft story, it'd be great just to learn a little bit more about you, your background, your career journey, from the early years to where we are today, if you would be so kind.
Great. Thank you, Guy. Yeah, lovely to be here and happy to share, some of the journey, really. So I started out as a software developer. I left school when I was 16, became an apprentice software engineer. Not many apprentices around these days.
No,
perhaps there should be some more. Yeah, I became a software engineer apprentice and I worked my way through 5 years worth of training, really,
Wow.
working in all sorts of different departments within the company at the time, really learning how to become a software engineer, how to solve problems through software, and got the bug, really enjoyed that, and I finished my apprenticeship and I came out as a fully fledged software engineer working in telecommunications it was at the time.
That's 5 years, was it?
5 years,
So
yeah.
quite thorough then.
Yeah, it was quite intense, and there was study around that as well. So I was doing the standard 40-hour week, but I was evening classes and the local college, really, doing all sorts of different subjects to sort of pad out my knowledge, really.
Right.
But I finished it 5 years later and became a software engineer working in telecoms. And I was let loose, if you like, building all sorts of different sort of products, really, that worked on the old System X telephone exchange back in the day.
Okay.
So this was at the point in time where we had analog phones and everything was just becoming digital. So voice over IP was becoming a thing, and voice over ATM. And I was at that point, I became that engineer and I had to sort of transition into that voice over IP time. And that really opened up a whole load of opportunities really for me. I worked in telecoms for the next 5 years or so. And then I moved away from telecoms. I decided, that complete, 10-year block of my life was probably enough. And I wanted to go and experience other industries. And that led actually to publishing. So I went and I worked in Oxford and BH Blackwell's, a book publisher. They were doing medical journals, and this would have been in the late 90s. And this was the first stages really of e-commerce. So, people were able to subscribe to their medical journals online for the first time.
Right.
So we wrote our own e-commerce platform from scratch.
What was that written in?
Well,
Magento?
I'm afraid not. This is way before Magento.
Oh, right, okay.
So, this was sort of standard, programming. And, I only did it for 6 months because actually I got a call. I got a call from a colleague who I used to work with in my previous company, back in telecoms. And I got an opportunity which just really set me up. Andrew, would you like to go and work in Florida for the next year? So I thought about it for about 6 seconds and said yes, I would definitely like to do this. And so I went to Orlando, just north of Orlando, a place called Lake Mary.
Okay.
I worked for Siemens in their R&D center. So I decided, okay, this was worth going back to telecoms for. And I spent the next 5 years living and working in Florida, helping them with the American version of the old System X exchange.
Right.
I learned shed loads. I mean, people, some really smart people I was working with, and it was a great time. I was personally developing, growing. I was in my mid to late 20s, and spending the weekends traveling around Florida, getting to experience, the lifestyle side as well. But from a work point of view, working with some really good software engineers that have come out. Some of them came out of University Berkeley, some from MIT, some really smart people. Some of that rubbed off on me, not all of it. I'll make it very clear.
I'm sure you're being very modest.
It was a good time, learned a lot. And then I came back after 5 years of doing that and just really carried on, experiencing different industries. So I worked in legal, I worked in aerospace, I worked in property and real estate, just really trying to understand those different industries and bringing it all together, in one package. And then I decided, okay, I got married and I'd had children and I wanted some stability. I needed to sort of put some roots down. And an opportunity came up with Ordnance Survey in Southampton. Our national mapping agency, really impressive organisation, 200 years old, history, straight out of the military. And the mapping and the capabilities that they have around mapping are just really impressive.
Yes.
So it was a great opportunity to join them. And the role was head of development. So I was responsible for all of the application software that was being built and allowed me to bring some of the experience I'd had in those other industries into government,
Nice.
into the public sector. And so we're talking agile working, we're talking, modern software engineering practices like microservices, cloud, automation, continuous integration, continuous deployment, all these sort of modern practices we sort of take for granted today. But I was able to introduce that into that environment. And it was a new function that we created called digital engineering.
Okay.
It was a culture change within the organization. And adoption of agile, adoption of these modern engineering practices, hiring some great engineers that had understood those things. So it was almost like a little culture change, a business within a business.
Okay.
And
nice.
That's what we did. And I did that for a couple of years or so. And then it was decided really, time to form a company of my own. I've done this enough now in my career for other people. I really wanted to do something for myself, scratch the itch, the entrepreneurial itch that might come across from time to time. And Spyrosoft was born. So today, I spend my time running Spyrosoft in the UK, and it's a technology services business, as you've rightly said. We build our customers' products, digital products, and help advise them from a consulting point of view, really right the way through that design, engineering and support and maintenance. So it's a full life cycle business, and we've grown it over the last 8 years.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that as a story. That's I really like about your story is it feels like opportunities sort of presented themselves to you. And was it a conscious decision to expose yourself to all of those different areas and different sectors, or did it sort of happen naturally and organically?
I'd had a plan to try and, traverse those different industries because I always thought, if you stay in one industry, you can do really well, you can progress in your career, you become an expert. But if you're like a fish out of water, if you jump into a different environment, you almost start from scratch again.
Yeah.
So I figured that, to really progress in technology, I needed to be a bit more rounded than that.
Okay.
And I made that conscious decision, although briefly I was let loose into publishing and then got back into telecoms. But it for me, you need to have these different, insights.
Yeah.
And when you add that all together, it gives you a better life experience, better technical experience, better understanding of a wider industry.
And more confidence, I suppose, isn't it? When you see a problem, like very much encountered a very similar type of problem before in a broader context. So okay, superb. Let's talk a little bit about Spyrosoft then. I think you gave us a very nice introduction there, but I'm sure there's a lot more to the story. So talk us through when did you first know that you wanted to start a business, and how did you go about that process? Was it something that took a bit of time to get there, or did an opportunity just present itself? Talk us through that sort of birth of the business.
Okay, yeah. Well, it comes back actually to when I was Ordnance Survey, that opportunity I had to create digital engineering to show that organisation what could be achieved through modern innovative approaches. So I had this blueprint of what I did there. And I decided really that I could do this for other companies and for the benefit, not just to scratch my own entrepreneurial itch and create a business, but actually to that success that we had, I could roll that out to other companies, and those other companies could enjoy that success. So that's really the aim of it. And I had some colleagues in Poland that I friends really, that I got to know really well. We all worked in IT and technology. We all had sort of complementary skills. There was some overlaps, but generally the four of us had quite defined roles.
Had you worked together before?
We had through a partner that Ordnance Service that I brought into Ordnance Service.
Yeah.
That's where I met them.
Right.
But we had this. It was a point in time, really, where they had this stuff going on in their own country. They decided they were up for the challenge of creating a company. We all agreed we would give it a go, and we did. We formed the company in UK. We formed the company in Poland. It was set up straight away as a sort of a near-shore working environment. Yeah. The UK business would work close with our UK customers and help them define and in a consulting way really what the solution could be. Mm-hmm. And in the engineering side, in the delivery side, that would be done from Poland. And when we started out, there were cost efficiencies internally that we could achieve by doing that. So it made sense. When you start a company, you got to watch the pennies. And we were able to achieve that in that model. The Polish software engineering ability is fantastic. I mean, if you look at the tables of software development worldwide, the Poles are consistently in the top 3 or 4 in the world. So they're really excellent engineers.
Been my experience too.
Yeah, and so it was almost a no-brainer. We needed to unleash that really on some of our customers. And the role of the UK side was very much about find some customers, help to manage and deliver and oversee those projects, and that's what we did. And we started out in 2016, and I think by the end of the year we'd started midway through the year, but by the end of the year we had about 12 or so employees, and then another year ran through, and we were over 100 people, and then we went up to 400 people, and it sort of scaled up significantly since. Today, we're just over 1,500 people.
Wow.
It's in 8 years, and that's all organic growth. So we have no sort of VC or private equity or anything like that. It's reinvesting into the company. Good engineering, collaborative model of working, good transparent relationships with your customers. You just get stuff done. You do what you say you're going to do, and you do it in a collaborative way. And that's what we've been able to achieve in a relatively short time.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, in my 16 years of doing this job, it is very rare you hear a story of a company that's achieved that level of growth, let alone organically, without external investment. That's, real kudos and real hats off to you. And I'm sure you're being very modest there when you talk about, just get stuff done. But it'd be really good to understand, sort of lift under the hood a little bit about how you've created that culture of scale. There's so many companies out there that would be looking to replicate that level of growth. And, how do you go about implementing a culture that allows that level of scale? Because I'm sure it's not an easy task.
No, it's not easy. There's a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes, of course. The one thing I would say about that is when we bring in, so you need to win the work. Clearly, you need to find the customers, you need to win the work, you need to win the project. But when you're setting up that delivery team, finding those engineers, allocating those engineers to the project, the most important thing, I believe, is you hire those people, you bring them in based on their behaviors. Okay. Technical competence is great. You need to be able to do the job, obviously. But it's those behaviors that matter the most. You can teach technology, you can't teach behavior. Okay, so in my view, it's all about hiring people, building your team based on their behaviors, the way those people react when they're under pressure, the way they collaborate with their colleagues, the way they conduct themselves on a day-to-day business. Really, really important. Are they there on time? Do they slide off early? Or do they put the extra hours in when we need to get the project delivered? It needs to go over the line, and it takes a little bit longer. It's about those kind of things. And, can't underestimate behaviours enough. So we in Spyrosoft, we recruit our engineers, all of our team really, all based on behaviour.
Okay.
We have some tests and checkpoints, of course, to make sure that they can be a front end developer if they say they are, and so on. But it is around behaviour, and I believe that's the most important thing, really.
I would totally agree. I mean, that's really refreshing to hear that, to be honest, because very often in my experience, well, I'd say with a lot of the better CTOs and leaders that I've worked with, they share that view that it is about the person, it's about the way they collaborate within the team as much as it is about the technology. But you'd be amazed how often people do still choose people based on just their technical competence. And I think this is clearly a great example of where it's worked very, very well. So how do you go about that interview process to assess those behaviours? Is that something you've formulated yourselves? Is it something you kind of had external advice on? How do you assess people, I suppose?
No real external advice. It comes back to the founders, the 4 founders, and the way that we have worked. And so we believe agile working is the way to deliver technology. Iteratively, every 2 weeks. 2 week sprints, the whole kind of retrospective at the end, and all of that stuff. But we built our company on those principles, on those foundations. So transparency, collaboration, iterative delivery, working together to a common goal. All of those good agile behaviours ripples right the way through our company.
True. Yeah.
And if you have those foundations, and from day one, and I suppose it's easier if you're setting a company up from scratch, you can kind of go, right, that's how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And if you're already in flight, then actually, changing the wheels halfway through is going to be a lot harder.
Yeah.
But with those foundations, I think you can build on that, and that helps that scale. That's the culture they walk into on day one. Everyone's working in that way. The behaviours are evident, and you build on that. You keep scaling it up. You hire in around it, and you keep an eye on people. And some of this stuff it's I don't know. I mean, in technology, there's a lot of sort of buzzwords and marketing hype that comes with it. But if you distill it down to the real sort of fundamental activity, what we're trying to do is we're trying to deliver a project for a customer using technology, and that technology solves their business problem. It might be a new product they're building, or it might be something they need to transformation or change. But fundamentally, that's what we're doing, and that's what we're trying to achieve. And you need people that can think outside the box. You don't need robots that just do one thing, and I don't do these things around here. You need that sort of team ethic, and that's why it comes back to that behaviour, and that's the way I think that I've seen success in the companies I've worked with, and the responsibilities I've had in other companies before Spyrosoft. So from day one, we all agreed, agile principles was the way that we wanted to build our company and the way we wanted to deliver our services. Nice.
I mean, everything you're saying, it's very common, not to belittle, but it's very common sense, but it's very powerful to hear that, you can genuinely build a business based on principles and behaviours, and it's just great to see it as an example that's worked really, really well. So you mentioned a little bit earlier about you've obviously got to win the work.
Yeah.
Did you intentionally go after a particular type of project or a particular type of business that you felt aligned with the resource you had or the way of working that you'd like to work? I know obviously you talked about the agile way of working, but talk us through that sort of process of client selection and sort of the sales process from your side.
Absolutely. So when you start a business, to be honest, you just want a customer. You need to get started. You need, revenue coming through the door. You need to be having a case study, built that you can then show the next one. So there's an element in the early days of, right, I just need to find my customer and solve a problem. And we approach that through access to engineering expertise, or we could lower some costs for the customers, or just really, innovation. I need people that can create something new, and I don't have any capacity internally. So it was about solving those problems, and we were able to to get that team, that initial team, up and running fairly quickly. And then over time, you can build up some case studies. You can demonstrate that you've got the knowledge to actually solve those problems in that industry, and you've got the ability to deliver. Really, really important. So in the first year or so, we were very deal driven, to be honest with you. But what we did, maybe 18 months to 2 years in, we decided that we looked at the customers that we had, and we allocated them to what we call business units now. So we said, okay, we've got 4 or 5 projects here in media, so let's have a media business unit. Okay. And then we've got 4 or 5 projects over here in sort of financial services companies. Let's put them into the financial services business unit. So we came up with a number of business units, and what we're trying to do here is really, build the depth of experience and understanding of those industries inside that business unit. So it becomes an area of core competence. Okay. So we have that today. We scaled up over those 8 years. We have a number of business units now. We have a geospatial one for location-based technologies. We have media. We have automotive. We have healthcare and life sciences. We have financial services, and the list goes on. There's robotics and other things as well. So yeah, they're areas of core competence. They have a director of engineering that sits above them, somebody more like a figurehead, a person that really understands that industry. Yeah. And then what we do underneath that individual is we scale up with the teams. So the engineering teams that sit in front of a scrum master or a project manager who's coordinating the project. Okay. So interestingly, in Spyrosoft, our organization chart is upside down. It's not CEO at the top and, downwards to the engineering and beyond. Actually, we're all about teams, so it's the other way around. So we start our projects with the teams who feed into a scrum master or project manager, who feed into a director of engineering, who feed into the board. Okay. So it's all about delivery, complete delivery to customers. So when you ask to see the Spyrosoft org chart, you'll be surprised it's the other way around.
Nice, okay. Got visions of you making the tea now.
And I do. I build furniture as well. So
I bet you do. Yeah. Man of many talents. That's really interesting though. I love that, and I think again sort of feeds into really the culture you've created, I suppose, and how I can see why you've scaled and been so successful. So that's really nice to hear. So what's the sort of structure? 1,500 people now. What's the structure between Poland, UK? How's the business sort of structured internationally?
So one of the big sort of events really a couple of years ago was IPO. So we now listed, we're on the Warsaw Stock Exchange on the main market. It was a way of us giving back a bit to the people that joined us right from day one. Everyone has shared in some of the success of the company. We're on a growth plan. Right now, we're still growing. We're still hiring people. We're still winning customers, and we're still moving across the world in our offices. But we're now in 9 countries, 20 different cities around the world. Each of those locations is set up the same. It's about delivery to the customers in those geographies. So the UK business, as an example, is very much customer facing to those UK customers. But we actually deliver our software these days, not just purely from Poland like we did in the start of the company, but actually every location around the world now has a delivery capability as well. So we could almost be self-sufficient in terms of the software engineering and the delivery to customers. But the way we staff our projects, it's actually across the globe. So who's available with the right experience at the right time? Nice. It's a blended model. Customer might find they have a team of engineers that's split between UK, Poland, Germany, Romania, US, Argentina, and the other locations where we're present as well. So it's very much about the right point in time, the right skill and domain experience that engineer has, and availability.
Very nice. Yeah, it sounds like you've got a real sort of recipe for success that sort of marries together the domain knowledge of the business unit, but the flexibility of kind of resource as well at the same time. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I'm not going to let you get away just lightly by saying everything's been sunshine and rainbows, because I'm sure there's been certain instances where things haven't quite gone to plan. So what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've faced in growing the business to date that maybe weren't as expected on the journey?
There's always challenges. I mean, if this was easy, everybody would be doing it, I suppose. But you're right. It's not all plain sailing. There's a lot of hard work that's gone into this to get from where from nothing to where we are now. In terms of successes and failures, some of the things that we've learned from, are really around our marketing, our brands, the penetration that we have into the different industries, and we're still learning. We don't have the secret, sauce that allows us to be in front of every company out there. So there's a bit of testing of those markets. One of the challenges of scaling quickly, we offer it as a service to our customers to help them scale. But that means we need to scale even faster to enable the customers to scale. So we've solved that problem really by having multiple sites around the world in different sort of strategic places, locations. And I think keeping up that pace of growth has been a challenge. We have a network of partners that we're working with to help us grow our brand strength in different areas. Internally, we have a team of recruiters. We have approximately 30 recruiters internally now in Spyrosoft, again, spread across the different geographies. They're supported by external companies as well that they're working with. So it's building up all of these different things at the same time as being able to deliver under the tight deadlines that our customers impose upon us. And so that's, I would say, is a significant challenge. Yeah. Cash flow coming in to support all that growth, hence the reinvestment. That's keeping up with that is not easy.
I can imagine, an ever moving target, I suppose. But what I like about your description and really what I've liked about a lot of your answers so far is a lot of it in the business feels very customer centric. It's all about delivery to the customer, and I think you and I spoke about this before. But if you genuinely do what's right for the customer and look after the customer, the business will be successful. By
totally right.
That. And so many companies, I feel, don't quite hit that piece.
Absolutely,
it's quite obvious to a lot of people, but not to others. And
just to add to that, sometimes I think, that's really interesting you've said that, because sometimes I think to myself, why don't other companies out there, why are they not as flexible as we are? For us, the customer is absolutely everything. We will bend over backwards to help solve a problem in whatever way we can. And that might be actually, don't work with us. We know somebody that can do this job better, and we'll introduce you, and for us, that's a good outcome as well. So it is a hungry business and it wants to grow, but it's about solving that problem for the customer.
Totally agree. I think we look at the world through the same lens as far as in recruitment. It's obviously recruitment gets a bit of reputation in the market for people that overpromise and underdeliver, but I think quite rightly, because a lot of people do. And I never see the value in sitting in a meeting with a client where if they're talking about a particular problem and I say we're not equipped to solve that problem, why would we attempt to say we are?
It's a bad outcome if
for everybody. We're wasting our time, wasting the client's time, and we're just going to we'll kick the can down the road a few more weeks, and then they're going to be further away from where they wanted to be. So I totally agree with you on that front. I think it's a level of integrity and honesty with your customers and yourselves at the end of the day, to know what you're good at and know what you're not good at.
That's right.
I very much subscribe to that. So, okay, perfect. Talk a little bit about you as a leader. To have achieved what you achieved and got the business to where it is. Clearly, very strong leader. I think it's interesting you've come from that sort of literally grassroots of apprenticeship in software engineering all the way through to the CEO position, which again is a great story in itself. But what do you feel are some of the most valuable qualities and attributes of a business and technology leader?
So I can probably say that integrity is really important. So and honesty. If you don't know, say you don't know. There's in the books. You read some of these management books. You go to management school and so on, and you listen to the advice. And some of it's really true, and it's really straightforward stuff. It's like hire somebody better than you. Simple, right? But why would you not do that? So I don't know everything. I wouldn't want to know everything. So I try and look for the best in people and work with them in an honest, open way, give them space. I don't micromanage people. I expect them to do the job that they're there for. But giving people space and the freedom and the buzzword is empower, right? So, but empower people to really do what they're good at. And then you get a good outcome. It comes back again to agile principles. If you have a team delivering projects, give the work that somebody's the best at to do. If you give that piece of work to somebody that doesn't know how to do it, then you're going to get a bad outcome. So it's about playing to people's strengths, understanding the psychology of the team, if you like, how they work together. Are they integrating well? Are they communicating properly? Are they working to their strengths? And those kind of things I think are really, really important. So when you're designing a delivery model for a company in technology, I think it's not just purely about the tech. It's about people's behavior. It's about their psychology. It's about their motivations and their strengths and playing to that. Yeah. And I think that is really advice that I was given. And it's what I've seen in my career. I was CTO in a number of organizations before Spyrosoft. And I think everywhere I've been, I've looked at that and I've thought, right there, that is the way to do it. You play to those strengths and you work with people at a people level. Yeah. And in technology, a lot of the time, the perception from the outside in is, these techies, they're very good at what they do, but they're like machines. They don't communicate. Yeah, and there are some people like that. But actually, if you stand back and you look at the way this is all done, it's done through people and the relationships those people have. So I think that being a leader, you need to set people free to go and do that, to be the best they can be. You give them the space, you give them the framework to operate in and the rules rules of the game. Be clear about the expectation of what we want. In the agile world, it's definition of done, right? So I need to understand what done looks like. And if they understand that, they know what's expected of them, then let them do it. Let them free to go and do it. So I've run my career over the last probably 20 years on those sorts of principles, and I think I've been relatively successful in that. But I believe that's how you get the best out of people. And at the end of the day, Spyrosoft is a services business. We're a people business. We have no products of our own. We're really good at building other people's. But in order to do that, it's about getting the best out of people. Yeah. And that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I love that. It's a really refreshing approach. And like I say, especially in the world that we're living in now where technology is evolving at such a pace and there's this preconception about technology and what it is and the people that work in it. But the fact you keep drawing it back to it's about people, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose any business that's successful ultimately is about getting the right people working together and just sort of the cogs were turning in my mind there, thinking about, again, quite an obvious thing, but so true, of actually just getting people to play to their strengths and, realising that a team is a combination of multiple different skill sets. You can't have 11 strikers on the pitch and expect a project to go the way you want it to. I think that's very, very powerful. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, on the subject of technology and sort of future trends, what are you most excited about in the world of tech looking forwards?
Well, I'm going to stay away from AI because everyone's talking about AI. I think sort of what I'm excited about, I see huge efficiency gains in the coming few years. So sort of process automation, virtualization, so sort of, smart cities, digital twins, even down to sort of, manufacturing, 3D printing and 4D printing, all of those things I think are quite exciting. Robotics, so taking that automation and helping with the efficiency of automation, robotics will play a part in that. I think Internet of Things, everything is basically going to be connected. Probably by now, maybe next year, I don't know, but there's probably 50 billion devices out there that will be connected and communicating. And the data that sits behind that is just so vast. The opportunities that will unlock are incredible, really. And, okay, I will talk a little bit about AI, but you chuck AI on top of all that data now that's been collected by all those devices and sensors. looking at the trends and the opportunities of that data will really accelerate, the speed of technology advance in the next few years. I have a bit of insight into different industries in my job. I spend a little bit of time talking to different people in these different industries. And I'm going to talk a little bit about space now. And
Please do.
And it's a bit geeky because I really like it.
My wife would be happy.
So I went to the States, and actually I went to NASA, to Houston, and I was lucky enough to spend some time with some of the space companies there. And this was just the beginning part of the year, so only a few months ago. And we've got things coming in the space industry which literally blow my mind. And we're talking, commercial space stations. We're talking settlement on the moon. We're talking communication between planets. We're talking settlements on the moon and beyond. In our lifetime, probably if Elon Musk has his way, he will achieve his goal of getting to Mars. And the opportunities that then open up, having that sort of setup, planet, moon, Mars, are just infinite. I mean, they're so huge. Drug discovery, drug manufacture, being able to accelerate the manufacture of drugs by using microgravity or off-planet on the moon, the sort of zero gravity, all of those things, the speed that you can now produce medication, drugs, really accelerates and again opens up huge opportunity using all the data and AI and all the modeling that can be achieved of that data for medical reasons. Again, when you have all this data, all these sensors, and the power of AI and quantum computing, you load all that in. Again, it's really accelerating the innovation in drugs and medication. So for healthcare industry, the next 10, 20 years could be fantastic. We could solve some of those, horrible diseases.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Just talk me through, Andrew. How would that work? Like, how does the microgravity element speed up the production of medication?
Yeah, it's just the manufacture process. They do. I'm not an expert in drug manufacture, but just the process of the way they do certain things by being in low gravity, it speeds it up somehow.
It's amazing.
So yeah, it's that's just one thing. We're then talking about communications infrastructure. So if you have now moon settlements on the moon within the Artemis Accords, say within the next 10 years or something, we'll have a settlement on the moon. They'll be mining the moon for precious metals. So now you've got communication between Earth and moon. You've got people living there, life support systems and sustaining life now on the moon and travel between the two. Costs of getting to the moon are coming down. You've got all these other sort of rockets going up from SpaceX every 5 minutes, it seems. And just that next decade could see substantial change. And I find that quite interesting.
Absolutely,
and exciting.
I mean, I genuinely didn't think we were... I mean, it's strange that it's not publicised more. I mean, obviously, Elon Musk and talking about going to Mars, etc. But these other initiatives, it's amazing they're not more widely known. Or maybe they are and I didn't know about them, but that's very interesting.
Data, off-planet data storage, backup. What happens if some people settle on the moon, maybe they have a child, and that child is born on the moon. So which country do they belong to? What passport do they have? All this kind of stuff. To me, it blows my mind. And so I think within our lifetime, within the next, 30, 40, 50 years, there will be substantial change, and technology and the rate of technology advancement is just gaining momentum.
Yeah.
It's going so quick, and we see it day by day. Our company's not even 10 years old. And if I look back at the start, comparing it to now, everything is faster. Everything is more optimized. Yeah. So the efficiency gains, the automation, I think is really quite exciting, and that will open up innovation and opportunity in all sorts of different places.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, it's such an exciting. It's one of the reasons I love the job I do.
Yeah.
In the industry we're in, because for the first 10 years of my career, I was focused very much on pure play software engineer, .NET developers, basically.
Yeah.
You're either a back end developer, business logic back end or front end. And since we started True North, we focused primarily on data science and machine learning and AI in the first instance. We have a software engineering arm now, but just in that particular space, it's just incredible. I mean, you use the word exponential often when you talk about AI, but it's so true. The speed of which it's evolving is just absolutely mind-boggling, to the degree that, if you started out your career as a data scientist 3 years ago, the skill set you now need, now we have this underlying inherent layer of logic with a lot of the LLMs and ChatGPT out there. It's a different skill set. You're already having to evolve what you need to do. It's just such a mind. But like I say, very exciting in many ways. But also just I think about my daughters now that are 6 and nearly 7 and 4, and you think what is the world going to look like in terms of a marketplace for what skills you need to develop to be
and traditional software development, the way that I was when I was a software engineer back in the day, with my I was coding in C and then C++ when object orientation came in, and I look at that now. I mean, that's changing it's so different. Software 2.0, I think it's sort of buzzword it's called, and software 2.0 is AI, and the AI algorithms are going to be doing the coding. So those software engineers, how do they adapt? How do they become the master of the AI and controlling the AI to write the software? And all of that is starting to sort of come in now. We're seeing it. We use AI tools to help, with our development processes so on. Yeah. And the next decade, when people just starting out in the technology career, it will look very different than it was, is now, and it certainly was when I was a dinosaur coding C on telecoms system exchanges.
That's it. Okay. Keep us on our toes, won't it, I suppose? But well, speaking of the future, what's next for Spyrosoft? Where do you guys go from here?
So it's growth. We have this growth plan. We're in the middle of a 5-year growth plan, and just for the UK specifically, we're headquartered in Bournemouth, really purely because, selfishly, that's where I'm from. And
it's a nice part of the world as well.
That's where I wanted to start the company. But yeah, we've grown and we've moved into different cities, so that growth will continue. So we're in London and Manchester and Bournemouth today. We're going to be moving into Newcastle and beyond this year, and that growth will continue. More sort of widely, globally, Spyrosoft is at 1,500 people. We want to keep growing, and that will mean other countries, other cities where we're present, working in those markets, looking at working ever more in those industries that we're in today. So really focusing on some of those, particularly media and geospatial, I would say. Okay. Tapping into the opportunities that we've talked about, say in the medical space, so life sciences. And that will drive some of that growth and expansion. But yeah, it's all about growth, reinvestment into the company, continuing to grow. We want to build the best software development company out there, and we're not there yet, but hopefully one day we will.
Well, it sounds like you're definitely on the right footing, and was it the hedgehog principle that what's got you to this point? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep doing what you're doing. It's a recipe for success. Well, Andrew, really enjoyed the conversation today. I think it's been genuinely inspiring to hear your journey and as a leader and what you guys have achieved as a business. And it still feels like you're scratching the surface in terms of where you're going to go from here. So I definitely will keep my eyes peeled and be keen to see your journey from here. But I like to end every podcast, as you may know, with the same question, which is, if there was one piece of advice that stuck with you throughout your career that you would draw back to again and again and sort of offer to your fellow humankind, what would that be?
So my one bit of advice, I think, I'll go back to when I was learning to drive. So I remember my father telling me, he was out in the car with me, practicing between our lessons, and I dithered, that I was approaching some parked cars parked on the side of the road. There was an oncoming cars coming my way, and I dithered. Do I stop and wait and let that car come past me, or do I go and they can wait? And I remember my father saying, basically, never dither. Make a decision. If it's a good one, great. If it's the wrong one, you make another decision and you correct it. So that's what I would say, and I've lived my life really, on that basis. Take the opportunities that come along. You either do it or you don't. Don't dither, and that way, yeah. you can make another decision if it's the wrong one, can't
That's
you?
a very fitting way to end. I actually only learnt the origin of the word decision relatively recently, because it comes from the word to cut, doesn't it? It's the Greek, I think, to cut, and basically means when you make a decision, you're cutting yourself off from all other avenues, and then, like you say, you're there, and then you make another informed decision and go on. But I think it's a very nice way to end the podcast, and totally subscribe to that theory. So perfect. Well, look, thank you again for coming in and having a chat with us. I would very much welcome you coming in again in future in another few years' time to hear the next chapter of the Spyrosoft story. So
great.
Yeah, take care of yourself, and I'm sure we'll speak very soon.
Super. Thanks very much, Guy. Appreciate it.